Welcome back. We're talking about Pakistan's economic recovery. Let's get back to our panel right now. Mustafa, Pakistan is going through changing times right now, changing economy right now. If we look at the country's textile industry, it's been hurt by the fact that you've had an energy problem in Pakistan. A lot of those textile factories that were in Pakistan have now moved to other countries. They've moved to Bangladesh, they've moved to Vietnam. Can Pakistan regenerate, get those industries back?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, that energy was a big problem for Pakistan's economy, and $35 billion out of the $46 billion is energy investment, pure energy investment in hydropower, in wind, in solar, in liquefied natural gas, and some ultra supercritical technology of coal. So the lion's share of the China-Pakistan economic corridor is all energy projects, in fact, and the rest of the $11 billion are infrastructure. So these, all of these industries which have gone outside of Pakistan, and understandably so, will definitely come back. And to supplement the energy projects and the energy that is going to be provided, the economic zones, the special economic zones, which are going to be set up and which will be given which will be giving investors tax holidays and exemptions and other incentives, will really encourage both Pakistani and Chinese and other international investors to set up their manufacturing units in Pakistan. In Gwadar already there is a special economic zone under construction as we speak, and in the rest of Pakistan as well they will be in the second phase. So they will get market access to Europe, to Central Asia, to China, to vice versa. So, and you have to see that Gwadar is going to play a pivotal role for the manufacturing units and for trade, and giving China access to the warm waters. So it actually, why it distinguishes itself from the rest of the ports in the world is because it's part and parcel of the maritime Silk Road as well as the land route of the Silk Road. So the two maritime and the land route converge in Gwadar. And I think that is what is going to be what I earlier called the game changer.
So, Moeed, if we look at Pakistan, it's facing enormous political challenges, the relationship with its neighbor, India, the relationship with the United States. What do you make of President Nawaz Sharif's stewardship of the economy?
Look, I mean, Prime Minister Sharif has been sort of business-oriented. This is his, third time in office, and he's always known as somebody who's very friendly to the industry, to business, to export. And in fact, if you remember when he came into office, he made a big push to open up with India. I mean, there were conversations about a most favored nation status to India and then opening up trade. So he's always been on that line. And I think his vision, if I may say, from people around him as well, is really a connected South Asia and Pakistan connected within. There's always this conversation and worry about Pakistan's isolation and how to break through that if relations with India and the US and others are not good. And the Chinese, the CPEC is probably one big transformational part of that, but he's very much committed to that. In fact, I know that he's probably, personally very disappointed with this relationship, the Indian relationship taking sort of a backward trend, if you will, in terms of Modi and Nawaz Sharif developing an equation, the media talking about them being two leaders who could come together, and then it all falling apart and being pretty nasty over the past 2 or 3 months. So I think he's committed to this. There is an opening there, but quite frankly, I will say, as much as we talk about India, Pakistan and rationality and could be a win-win, these two states have missed no opportunity to actually lose out on that advantage of coming together and bringing the region as a whole, and quite frankly hurting the smaller countries of the region in the process. And I unfortunately don't see that changing anytime soon.
Sourabh, what do you think? If Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, I elevated him to President just now, he is the Prime Minister.
That would be a demotion in the Pakistani system. He's happier being the Prime Minister.
If he reaches out to India, will India, with good intentions, will India reciprocate?
No, not as the current security setup in India is constituted. I think Nawaz Sharif has gone out of his way anyways to make up to India and to telegraph his intentions to India. There is a fear that he cannot yet bring his army along or his armed forces along to, at least for India, to its satisfaction. So the purpose at this point of time is not to rush that relationship into a relationship of friendship. There are serious issues which need to be tackled. Let them tackle the issues as they stand, the issues of terrorism, cross-border violence, etc., and gradually, as they can find mechanisms to deal with them, then we can think of, from a political perspective, think of broader opportunities which can be capitalized, political opportunities. But that having been said, I see no reason why, from a geo-economic perspective, the Indians would not want to shape the contours of the Maritime Silk Road and OBOR, the Belt and Road Initiative in South Asia, and make them complementary to its own neighborhood policy. There's a lot of money being put in out here. India is not in a position or capacity to put those sort of funds out. So try to work with the Chinese to shape those contours and try to build complementary linkages. And it's not just about India and Pakistan, it's about linking Afghanistan and Pakistan together, because it's high time that many of the quarrels will go on for a long time, but you can create underlying economic capacities which join the destinies of the nation together, so that when the politics does get right, I mean, there can be the region can really prosper.
Mustafa, we talked about the role that India is playing, that China is playing. Who are the other major foreign players in Pakistan's economy?
You see, Afghanistan, Iran, and some of the Central Asian states, Turkey, as I already have said, interested in investing and coming into Pakistan and synergizing with Chinese, Pakistani, and their own companies. So I think all of these countries are playing a very important role, and I think most importantly Afghanistan and Iran, because they neighbor with Pakistan, and I think they are playing a very positive role. And in fact, now we are talking about the Chabahar port and the Gwadar ports cooperation. So cooperation rather than competition. And this time when our Prime Minister was in the United Nations, the Iranian President and our Prime Minister agreed to work collectively to develop their ports jointly and to welcome Iran into the China-Pakistan economic corridor. So there's a lot of hope regionally and interest which has been demonstrated by countries, and it has a both strategic context as well as a purely economic one, because it will give a lot of economic dividends to these struggling economies, whether it's Iran, whether it's Afghanistan. It will provide jobs to their people and will sort of provide a new opportunity, a new block which will be integrated, less formally so than the EU, but something like that is emerging, and we can see that happening in Pakistan right now. And another thing that we have to keep in mind is that the $46 billion pledge of investment in Pakistan is the biggest pledge of investment by any one country into another country in recent history. And I think all of the neighboring countries have taken cognizance of that and have, in a timely manner, thrown their hat in the ring. So I think all of the neighboring countries can play a very key role in it, and I think they are going to play a key role.
Go ahead, sir.
Just one further point I wanted to add to that is talking beyond countries.
Yeah.
You know, the United States has taken a fairly cussed view of both the Belt and Road Initiative and the AIIB, the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, but U.S. private companies haven't. They've not taken that sort of view as the public sector. They are pretty gung-ho on this. People like GE, people like Bechtel, they see huge opportunities. They are into infrastructure, and they're seeing people who are ready to deliver funds, not just talk about it. So U.S. private sector is actually, these large infrastructure firms who are in that space are fairly enthusiastic about this. So one should not just limit it just purely from a country in terms of states. We have to look at the private sector too.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks to all of you for joining us.